Well, welcome into the Chiefs Report. My name is Harrison Graham. Could Kansas City sign David Bakhtiari? He still remains unsigned in NFL free agency, and I still continue to believe that the Chiefs' left tackle position is the biggest unknown heading into training camp. So we're going to dive into this topic here in just a moment, but I want you guys to kind of let your voices be heard first by just clicking one button. If you think the Chiefs need a left tackle, hit that like button, because I think they do. I think most of you do as well. Hit that like button if you think they need to invest in a left tackle. Because to me, I just feel worried, concerned, and I don't think Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, and if you wanted to try and flip Lucas Nie, I don't think you definitely don't have a proven option at left tackle, and I am pretty confident saying you don't have a great option. Now, I think Suamataia has tools to be a starting left tackle. I think Wanya Morris could even, but I thought last year he looked overwhelmed when he had to play. Let's just be honest. On paper, your left tackle options aren't ideal. Now, the Chiefs' approach might be to get into camp, play a couple preseason games, and see how it looks with the options they have, and I certainly would be fine with that, but you also don't want to risk the external options just not being there if that is the case and you wake up in mid-August and you're like, we don't have a good option here. That's where a guy like David Bakhtiari comes into play. Now, David Latham of Last Word on Sports makes a good point, too. He says Kansas City possesses an interior offensive line of Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and Joe Thuney, but lacks short-term security at tackle. Perhaps second-round pick Kingsley Suamataia can hit the ground running, but the Chiefs could use a plan B that isn't Wanya Morris. A healthy version of free agent David Bakhtiari could provide a much-needed security blanket as the team tries to win their third Super Bowl in as many seasons. Now, we've talked about this with Bakhtiari a few times. Health is a concern. He missed 16 games last year, missed 16 in 2021. Even when he has healthier seasons, he's still probably going to miss 4 to 6 games. It's kind of just who he is. But Ian Rappaport reported last month that he had a positive checkup with his doctor in the month of May. So, look, when he's healthy, he's a stud. Obviously, you're not going to sign him without feeling decent about his health. But if you told me right now, Harrison, you're going to sign David Bakhtiari and you're going to get 10 to 12 healthy games out of him, I would probably sign that player, because even if he just gives you some healthy games, well, that's better than just throwing an unknown commodity out there in week one. Would you sign David Bakhtiari, Chiefs fans? Let me know. Type S for sign or type P for pass. Curious how you guys feel down in the comment section down below. I would take a swing here. I would sign him. I don't think he'll cost much. You can do an incentive-based deal, and you'll have to accept up front he's going to miss time. Like I said, if you could get 10 to 12 games out of him, you'd probably take it. But hopefully he's at least healthy to start the season, can play well enough, and these other guys can develop a little more. That way, when he inevitably does get hurt, by that point, some other guys have gotten to work with him, have gotten to develop his players a little bit more. I agree with Aaron Schatz of ESPN. Could Suamataia hit the ground running? Maybe. He's got the tools, but I also don't think they want to put him out there week one, and I think they would start Wanya Morris over him week one if it came down to it. So I would sign David Bakhtiari. I'm not sure the Chiefs feel the same, but that is where I stand. All right, coming up next, we're going to discuss 2 contract extension candidates for the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 players that ESPN mentions as a potential extension candidate, so stay tuned for that. But first, we have a hat and t-shirt combo on sale, chatsports.com/KC combo. It's almost 50% off. Do not miss out on this opportunity, chatsports.com/KC combo. All right, the 2 players Aaron Schatz is talking about, and by the way, I meant David Latham for the last story. Aaron Schatz of ESPN is talking about here. Creed Humphrey, the center, Trey Smith, the right guard. That's ESPN put out an article of next moves every team should make, and they said the Chiefs should extend both of these interior offensive linemen. Here's what Schatz had to say. The Chiefs might have the best interior offensive line in the league now that Jason Kelce is retired, but both Humphrey and Smith see their contracts end after 2024. Kansas City needs to lock down its offensive line for the next few years and keep Humphrey and Smith through their primes. Number one, Creed Humphrey is a no-brainer. I think in most situations, centers, they're kind of just plug and play. But when you have one of the premium ones, a Jason Kelce, a Creed Humphrey, that's a guy you keep around and give at least a second contract to. So getting him done is kind of a no-brainer. You look at what he's done through his first 3 years. Very, very, very good player. BFF numbers were slightly down last year, but still very good. Still top 5 last year. And to me, with Jason Kelce no longer playing, this is the best center pound for pound in football. The only thing that drove me crazy last year, especially in the playoff run, is he started having haywire snaps sometimes, so he's obviously got to clean that up. But this guy's rock solid. He's good in the run game. He's good in the pass. He's a leader. He's an anchor on this offensive line. So I think that one's an obvious one. Trey Smith, we'll talk about him in a second. But first, subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to bring Chiefs content all offseason long. News, rumors. If any extensions happen, we'll cover that. So don't miss out here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report. All right, Trey Smith. That's a different story. His PFF grades last year, kind of what he's been, above average, good player, especially for where you found him in the 6th round out of Tennessee. But I think paying him is a little bit trickier, especially with the guard market exploding this past offseason. I mean, Robert Hunt got $100 million. I think Robert Hunt's a little better than Trey Smith, but if I'm Trey Smith and his agent, if I have a good year this year, I probably want the Robert Hunt deal. And I don't know if you can give him that if you're Kansas City. Now, the thing that makes this tricky as well is, A, I think Creed Humphrey is someone you'd pay first, and B, Joe Thuney is under contract through next season, and he has a cap hit of almost $27 million next year. He's a great player. That's a lot of money. So if his cap hits $27 million, let's say Creed Humphrey, even if you backload it, it's going to be at least 10, 12, 15. Let's just say it's around 13. You're at $40 million. Are you going to give Trey Smith 15 as well? Like 50, 60 million for 3 interior offensive linemen? Like, I get it. They're good players, but this is the reality when you have high-paid players on your team. You got to pick and choose. So I do think that is a tricky one. Now, the idea of paying both Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith is tough because Creed Humphrey is a no-brainer as the best center in football. Trey Smith is a good guard, but you already have Joe Thuney, who's a high-paid guard, set to make $27 million next year, whereas Humphrey and Smith are both set to be free agents after this year. So what do? Well, I think you either let Trey Smith walk or you cut Joe Thuney after this year. You move on from him because you can save $16 million in salary cap space when you do that next offseason. He'll be 33 years old. I think that would be the way to go, so I would opt to go with Humphrey and Smith for the future, move on from Joe Thuney after this season. Again, if you did that, you would save $16 million in salary cap space there. You'd still eat about $10 million, but that's kind of the cost. Maybe Joe Thuney be willing to kind of take a discount, still want to ring chase with Kansas City, but I doubt it considering he's still one of the better guards in football. So I don't think you can have all 3 of these guys making big money. Maybe one's a franchise tag candidate. We'd have to wait and see. So keep one. Who would you rather keep? Trey Smith or Joe Thuney? Because I expect Creed Humphrey to be here no matter what. TS for Smith, JT for Thuney. I think Thuney's still a better player, but he's coming off a nasty pec injury. He's getting older. I think he's here this year, and unless he's unbelievable and Trey Smith struggles a bit, I would lean toward the younger Trey Smith. All right, that's going to do it for today's Chiefs Report. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys soon here on the channel.